So now we're going to talk about domains, and there's really four types of domains. We have our physical domains, we have our external layer 2 domains, our external routed domains, and our VMM domains. And don't worry, we're going to go through every single one of those during our discussions here. So the domains are really kind of what they call the how of the fabric. And it's really how we take, and I don't want to say map, but it's how we connect the physical fabric to our logical tenants. And again, if we take a back step here and we keep piecing together this puzzle that we've been doing, this is kind of where our domains sit. Okay, so these are our domains. So what we're doing with those is we're containing the VLAN pools that we just created. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create an actual our bare metal host or our physical domain. We're going to come back later and create a VMM domain, an external route at external layer 2. But for now, we're going to do a physical domain where we're going to attach bare metal hosts, and it's going to contain a VLAN pool. So the last thing that's going to sit right in here is what we call an AAEP. And again, this is really how we tie together our logical tenants, okay, and our physical fabric. So again, we're having to piece all these pieces of this puzzle together, and we haven't even really got to where the rubber meets the road yet, where we start creating endpoint groups and contracts and that basically facilitate the communications between those EPGs. So we're still at the physical fabric level here, trying to bring all of these things together. So we're going to create a domain now. So let me back up here. I'm big in the screen. And this domain is going to be basically a physical domain that's for bare metal hosts. So what I'm going to do is just go down here. Again, we're at Fabric, Access Policies, and I'm going to go to Physical and External Domains, Physical Domain, and create a physical domain. So this guy, we're going to name it Army BMH for bare metal host domain. Okay? We're going to come down here and basically map that static VLAN pool that we created in the last lab video or demo video, and we're going to map it to this domain. So again, we're containing it. We could do our security identifier. This associated attachable entity profile, we're going to create that next. So I'm going to go ahead and skip mapping it within here, and we'll just click submit. So again, we're using this Army bare metal host domain to basically contain that pool of VLANs that we created last time. So the last thing, how we kind of tie all of this together, is through the use of this AAEP, or this attachable access entity profile. So this configuration is actually going to be done under these global policies, and you can see the attachable access entity profile underneath there. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new one, and I'm just going to call this guy Army AAEP. There's a couple different ways you could do this. You could do one AAEP per domain, or you could do just one big AAEP and associate all of your domains to it. So that's, I think, how I'm going to go. We'll kind of adjust fire if we need to later on. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and grab this guy. I'm going to associate it to that domain I just created, so that Army bare metal host physical domain. Okay, we'll click update here. Notice it automatically drags in that encapsulation based on that VLAN association that we have in place. So because that domain referenced that VLAN, that static VLAN pool, we can see VLAN 1000 and VLAN 1001 in there. So next, we'll go over here. This is how we want to, again, pull all this together. And let me copy this over here. Let me say copy. Go back over here, let me get a new page. We'll paste this in. So if we see, this AAEP sits right here kind of in the middle, and this is how we're tying together our ports and switches and interface policy groups to our domains and subsequently our VLAN pools. So what we're doing within this AAEP is we're referencing these interface policy groups. Okay, because the AAEP contains that domain that contains those VLANs, but now we're referencing these policy groups that's contained by the port selectors, interface profiles, and switch profiles. So through all of this, this is how we ultimately end up taking these VLANs and pushing those out, to a specific set of ports. Okay? So think of it like a switch trunk allowed list. So what we're doing here is we're going to reference these. So what I want to do, since right now we're just doing the physical domain, we're going to do the 10 gig CDP LLDP. So I'm just going to go ahead and say select all interfaces within this policy group. Okay? And we'll go down here. We'll say finish. Okay? So now see the Army AAEP is referencing policy group CDP LLDP. If we go here, we'll click on it. We see the bare metal domain. If we look at the operational portion of that, we can see that it is containing or referencing the 10 gig CDP LLDP interface policy group. So again, this is kind of, like I say, where the rubber meets the proverbial road, because now we've basically provisioned the VLANs down to the actual switch port. Okay. Again, there still won't be any output if we go down to the command line at this point and we try to take a look at the leaf switches. We're still not going to see that VLAN pushed down because we haven't got an actual endpoint referenced off of those leaf switches yet. So the ACI, the controller, isn't actually going to push this information down to the leaf until it's absolutely necessary. So we won't see anything down there yet. But again, because let's kind of go backwards through this. We've got this VLAN pool with 1000 and 1001 is referenced by this domain, so the bare metal host domain. The bare metal host domain is referenced within this AAEP. Okay? This AAEP references this 10 gig CDP LLDP interface policy group. And if we go back to our interface policies and we look at these guys, these ports 1 and 2 off both of these profiles are referencing that policy. So basically that's how we're pushing those VLANs. We're basically saying these VLANs can be provisioned off of these two ports. Again, think of it like a switch trunk allowed list. That's how I've rationalized it in my crazy mind, and it'd be perfectly fine for you guys to do the same. So we're in a point now where we can start to attach things to the fabric and actually pass some traffic. Okay, so in the next couple videos, that's actually what we're going to begin doing. Is we're going to be able to come in and start attaching bare metal host, sending traffic between bare metal host at two different ends of the fabric. And it's very, very cool stuff. And I'm going to show you how we differentiate between intra EPG communication and inter EPG communication, and where we have to apply contracts and where we don't.